This lecture is focused on Chapter 6, which is long-term memory, and specifically it is about the structure of long-term memory. As you can see in the chapter outline, there are a lot of things to be covered here. The first involves comparing short-term and long-term memory processes. Secondly is a focus on episodic and semantic memory, which is going to be the focus of this lecture. There's also a discussion about imagining the future, about procedural memory, priming and conditioning, and then finally talks a little bit about memory loss. So let's get on and talk about the different types of long-term memory. We're going to focus specifically on two different types of long-term memory. The first is called episodic memory, and this is memory for personal events. And we'll contrast that with semantic memory, which is memory about facts and knowledge. What distinguishes the two is the type of information remembered. In episodic memory, we are focused on memory for personal events, right? Memory about information that had to do with us. In semantic memory, we're just focused on basic facts and knowledge that may or may not have had anything to do with us. The defining property of episodic memory involves mental time travel. And this was put forth by Endel Tolbing in about 1985, where he proposed these two different types of memory. In mental time travel, it's just what it sounds like. It means traveling back in time to try to reconnect with past events. Because there's no right or wrong here, there really is no guarantee that episodic memory will be accurate. Semantic memory, on the other hand, does not involve mental time travel. It involves general knowledge that does not need to be tied to personal experience. We can look at two real-life cases about memory damage to take a look more closely at the separation of episodic and semantic memories. And we'll first start off with the case of KC. And KC damaged his hippocampus in a motorcycle accident. It turns out that because of the damage to his hippocampus, he did not have any episodic memory. He could not relive any of the events of his past. Interestingly, however, his semantic memory was still intact. He was able to remember general information, general facts about the past. Let's contrast that with an Italian woman who had symptoms that were opposite of KC. This was a woman who had brain damage due to encephalitis, which is just simply swelling it's not simply swelling of the brain, it is swelling of the brain. In her case, she had impaired semantic memory, so she was unable to recall basic facts. But she had episodic memory. Not only did she have episodic memory, but she was able to form new episodic memories. So if you take a look at this chart, which shows the two different patients, KC and the Italian woman, and again just summarizes that KC's semantic memory was okay, but his episodic memory was poor. The Italian woman had poor semantic memory, but her episodic memory was okay. Memory for these two different types of information probably involves different mechanisms. And this is what is meant by double dissociation, right? That because of these two different types of memory that can be fine in one case but not fine in the other, that suggests that they may involve two different mechanisms. Let's take a look at this a little bit more carefully. There's evidence from brain imaging experiments that suggest that retrieving episodic and semantic memories activate different areas of the brain. Although keep in mind that there are overlapping areas as well. And so even though in a brain scan, in an fMRI for example, different areas of the brain will light up depending on whether a person is remembering episodic memory or semantic memory. But there's also areas of the brain that light up regardless of whether you're thinking about episodic and semantic memory. And this makes sense. In everyday life, episodic and semantic memories are often intertwined. In thinking about the interaction between episodic and semantic memories, we know that episodic memory can be lost, leaving only semantic memory, right? We've just seen that. In this case, acquiring knowledge may start out as episodic, but then fade to semantic. In other words, we know that knowledge can affect our experience. Semantic memory can also be enhanced if it is associated with episodic memory. Specifically, if you take a look at autobiographical memory, and this is memory of specific experience that are specific to the person. But this can include both semantic and episodic memory. The semantic component of autobiographical memory is called personal semantic memory. And these are semantic memories that have personal significance. It turns out that that personal semantic memory can influence what we experience by determining what we attend to. And this is something that we learned about in our last module about perception.